Hello everyone, welcome to Rob's Rogues in the BatmanUniverse.net, and today we're taking a look at something very big and very massive. It is, of course, from DC Collectibles. It is the Batman Arkham City Clayface Deluxe action figure. Now, I know this guy has been out for quite a while, and this was a figure that I had very much wanted. Again, I've been trying to collect as many of the Arkham figures that I possibly can, and my collection is getting pretty close to being complete, but I knew there were going to be some that were either going to be out of a price range or I waited too long to get, and then because I waited too long, the prices have gone way up. Clayface was kind of going to be one of those ones, just because due to the sheer size of Clayface, that was going to put a higher price point on him, much like the Darkseid figure that I'd picked up a few years back. So I thought, well, I'm probably not going to be able to get Clayface. He was another one of my favorite parts in the game. A big surprise of who the Joker was, or how the Joker was able to be in two places at the same time. Of course, if you played the game, you know Clayface was impersonating the Joker for a good chunk of the game, and it's the final sequence in the game. And Clayface has always been a favorite villain of mine. And I think a lot of that comes from Batman the Animated Series, where kind of before the animated series, Clayface was so-so in the comics, but as almost with everything with the animated series, it really made the characters more relatable and just really flushed out all of the good parts and the best parts of those characters, and really made them really rich and kind of evolved to what we know of them today. So this was one that I would kind of look at every now and then on eBay and Amazon and different places, and of course his price was going up and up. Well, this year in 2016, GameStop started getting more into action figures and statues and those different type of things. And Clayface is one of those figures that GameStop was selling. And I kind of knew going into GameStop selling action figures that most people aren't going to GameStop to buy action figures. Every now and then somebody may walk away with something, but generally people are buying video games. So I started thinking it's only going to be a matter of time until this guy sets long enough, and it had the $100 price tag. I'll show a better image. My lights are kind of washing out some of the box because I'm having to be so far back. I can't even touch the table or the box here. But it had a $99.99 price tag on it, $99.99, and he's obviously sat for a very long time, and then they dropped the price to $79.97. Well, just yesterday, I don't know exactly when they started carrying this, but a day or so ago, they dropped the price an additional $20, so that made it $59.97. So I was kind of looking at it over the last couple days, and I'd gone in enough that the store manager at the local GameStop I was at said, what's it going to take for you to take this thing out of the store so I don't have to continue to move it? It was already setting in a clearance rack, and I bet it had been in the store for close to a year at this point, and nobody had bought it. And I said, would you take another $10 off of the price? And he did. So I got it for $49.97 as opposed to the $59.97. So I got a steal, more than half of the price of the original price tag on this thing. So I am extremely happy that I got a large deluxe action figure from a video game series that I absolutely love, and I didn't even pay 50% of the price. So very happy. It's a long intro to this. So check your local GameStops if you haven't. If you've seen this guy, they have, at least in my GameStop, they had a clearance section, and he was sitting there, and I believe he's only been there about a week, and the manager was just like, I just want to get it out of the store. So I'm going to try to do my best here to film the box portion of this, which I'm sure by now a lot of people have already seen. So here's the side panel of the box right there. Can move this back a little bit. We see the other deluxe figures in the series that was out at the time. We have Killer Croc that I have here from my good buddy ODC, that's me, had sent it to me, which initially that's how I met Anthony, was getting this Killer Croc from him. Clayface, obviously, that we're looking at right here, and the Titan Joker. The Titan Joker is one of the figures in the Arkham line that I really have no interest in picking up. It was a cool sequence in the video game, but that's not a figure that I feel like I desperately have to have. Now, if I ran across it and it was really cheap, I would get it. But for the most part, I'm not going to pick up this Joker. Me personally, I really don't feel the need to do so. So that is about it here. Other than the side, Clayface is sculpted by Phil Ramirez. It says down here on the bottom of the packaging, which I don't think you can see unless I do that. Clayface measures at approximately 13.5 inches tall, or if you're still using the metric system, he would be 34.29 centimeters. So I cannot wait to get Clayface out of package here and see what he looks like with the rest of my Arkham figures. And I'm going to have to severely rearrange my shelf because Clayface is going to take up a lot of real estate. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get Clayface out of package and we will get a closer look at the DC Collectibles Batman Arkham City Clayface. Whew. All right, we've got Clayface out of package, and I'm trying to find the right perspective to be close enough that I could still do the review, but far enough back so you can see everything. The bottom of the table is just out of probably your view range here, but I think you can get a good size of how big Clayface is once I bring up Batman here. It was really cool that inside of the box of Clayface they gave an instruction manual of the changing head and how that works, and also the crystals that are being used to place this Talia al Ghul's sword in, and the crystal that can be pushed in. It's a button that detaches the left arm to be able to add kind of the Joker sleeved arm with the long fingers that, you know, happened in a section of the video game here. And that the hand detaches here so you can add kind of the sickle part of Clayface's arm here as well. So that's really cool that they did that. I'll probably have to reference this for the placement of Talia's sword. So if you've played the video game, which I'm sure most of you probably have played the video game, so you know in the sequences why there is like an ice formation on Clayface and why there's crystals. Batman is using his freeze grenade that he got from Mr. Freeze to be able to slow down Clayface in order to be able to attack him. And then he uses Talia's sword, which Clayface does come with, to be able to kind of slice up Clayface and then run up Clayface and then stab it in Clayface's back towards the tail end of the game. Since I've got Talia's sword right here, I do have the Talia al Ghul figure from Arkham City, so I have her sword right here. The swords, if I can do this correctly here, here is Talia's sword, and I could tell it's Talia's sword. There's a little gem right in here, and it's a brighter gold. The one that comes with Clayface is missing the gem, which should be right there. You can see where the placement of it would be. It's not more of a gem, it's actually a paint blob. But you can tell it's the same exact sword. They just, you know, repurposed it for this. So I'm surprised they didn't do the same paint job, and maybe that's to denote if you have both of these figures, you can have Talia posed with her sword and then Clayface with this one stuck in his back. So I'll just put Talia's sword back in her hand there so we don't get them confused. So that's one thing that Clayface comes with. And like I did show you, he comes with his sickle that goes on his right arm. If I have that right, yes, his right arm. And There's no articulation here. It's a really hard plastic that you can kind of see here that is as tall as Batman is. That tells you the size of what Clayface is going to be. And then the rubber type of an arm, which is as long as Clayface is, granted my perspective is a little off here. So the articulation, in this one there is the ball and socket that works right here, which I think this is back in the days of a clear peg, which I think we can see right here. So there's the clearness of the peg. I'm only going to do this one time, and it's going to be on camera. So provided nothing happens, hopefully this will go off and on without a hitch. But you can see the Joker sleeve there, because as Clayface was transforming into the Joker and back to his Clayface form, parts of the Joker's costume would kind of be flushed out in there. This is like a rubber pipe cleaner here, so you can kind of get it in some different poses. So you can get a little bit of a bend if you chose to do so, which is kind of cool. The hands are kind of the same way. They really don't stay all that well. You can kind of get them in a gnarly little pose here, but as far as being able to hold on to Batman, you'd probably kind of have to work it just a little bit to do so. Maybe something like that. So I don't know if he could hold on to him, you know, fairly well if you chose to do something like that. So now that we've done all that, let's get a closer look at Clayface here. And I gotta tell you, I really like this, and I'm glad I waited to pick him up. But there was a part of me that wanted to jump on him when he was at his $100 price tag when he first initially came out. But the look of Clayface, I think they got very well. As I'm all out of focus here, I apologize. But they did a fantastic job of sculpting his face and the crystal and rock formations here. You can see the green here. This is the one spot that you can kind of see the Joker's face underneath, and this just comes right off, so you can see the Joker's face right there. So you can see him half turning back into Clayface, or turning from the Joker into Clayface, which was kind of a cool, you know, whodunit moment in the video game, that a good chunk of the time that Batman is in contact with the Joker was basically Clayface in disguise, since the Joker was very sick. I do have my Batman Arkham Joker right here. Now, I'm not entirely sure if this is a bootleg. I got it off of eBay, so I was kind of wanting to see the faces here, if it's the same face sculpt. I think it's a brand new face sculpt that they used. And again, like I said, this particular Joker, I'm not 100% certain if it's in fact the real deal, because I got him loose. If it is a bootleg, then it is a very, very good bootleg. Up until this point, I've only had the Arkham Origins Joker, and I knew I needed a regular standard Joker here. But, you know, there definitely is the Joker here. And the face proportions are the same, pretty much. So I think it's kind of cool that they use the standard DC Collectibles head size for the Joker here, as, you know, as it would be. How am I going to display him? Of course, I'm going to use the Clayface head, which is really pretty cool. So there is articulation in the mouth, moves up and down. I'll probably keep it in the closed spot. Before I put that on here real quick, since we're on a little bit to articulation, since I'll do the head here, it does rotate left and right. Does have a little bit of movement up and down, like kind of position 1, position 2, and that's about it. I wish the head stayed on just a little bit better. It really kind of rests on there. But once you get it on, it does stay on really pretty decent. Let's take a look at the back here, this behemoth. So there is the crystal section on his back, which there is a part of me that's like, I think maybe I would have liked to have had Clayface without all of the crystals on there, just so you could have had a normal Clayface. But as far as interchanging the arms, this is a really clever way to hide where the button is, and the button is right here on this particular piece. You can kind of see it's just a little bit different than the other ones, but this translucent type of blue plastic, and the paint job is done very, very well on him. Looking for the sword placement, and there you can kind of see it right in there is where the sword goes. So if I grab Talia's sword, that would slide in probably it goes down inside of Clayface pretty far there. And Talia's original sword obviously would fit in there as well, since it is in fact the same sword. But the rest of the detailing work on Clayface is just fantastic. All of the muscle tone and just the muddy contrast to Clayface. You can kind of see the mud kind of oozing down the side of the legs there. Again, there's the hands. All sculpted very, very well. This is going to be a very impressive piece to have on my shelf, and I cannot wait to get him up there with all of my Arkham figures. So since we're moving Clayface around, we've done some articulation. Let me see if I can get back far enough to do all of this. We've already gone over the head. The arms are on a ball and socket, which they go up just about that far. There is not a whole lot of range of motion on this guy due to the way the arms, as I knock the head right off. So it does come off pretty easy, that you saw right there. So just due to the way that the back is sculpted on here and where the spikes are, you're not going to get a huge range of motion out of Clayface. The arms do go all the way around. He has a turn at the bicep. A slight bend at the elbow. Well, there is a bend at the elbow there, but it doesn't move because where the biceps are and elbow really kind of hit. So it is what it is. The hand rotates, so the hand does pop off. So you could put on the sickle. So part of me almost wants to have this on my shelf, but I think he's going to be taking up a lot of extra room on my shelf with it on. So unfortunately, I'm going to need all the space I can. So somebody could be standing underneath Clayface, and with that sickle on there, it's going to really make it hard. The legs go out surprisingly pretty well. You can get to almost the splits pretty well. And there's the ever elusive clear peg. So be very careful with them. I'm glad they went away from the clear pegs. And the legs go about up that far and back. A bend at the knee slightly. It's more of a turn at the knee. So a slight bend there and a rotation in the foot. So again, this falls into the category of one of the figures that was from the time of DC Collectibles being kind of using subpar plastics. So he's going to go on my shelf and he's going to be fine. I do want to demonstrate one time the this arm coming off and on. So the button, if I can find it again, is right here. So maybe push this. That locks it into place. Another clear peg. So all you gotta do is make it through this review, Clayface. Tape from another box getting in the way. And then this should just pull right, if I gotta have this in. And there we go. So there is the Clayface rubber arm attached, which that's pretty cool right there. So let me get this repositioned. So here's the standard Batman from the Batman Arkham City line with Clayface, and I mean the sizes compared to how they are in the video game. Of course, this is the big bad boss level and the final boss fight in the video game, so of course the boss is going to be really huge and really powerful. As far as a figure, you could kind of argue and go, Clayface probably should be a little bit smaller. But at the same time, I don't mind the large size of Clayface. that Clayface can change into any size, shape, or form that he can. So in trying to fight Batman, I think he would probably try and be as big as he possibly could. And you can also kind of recreate a shot like this of Batman having put the sword in Clayface's back and trying to leap off the top of Clayface. Alright, here's a shot of Batman with Clayface here, and I'll do another little shot here in just a moment, but kind of giving you the size of the two figures. Just kind of zooming in and putting the camera at an even level. Batman is almost totally out of frame here, but just a massive, massive figure. So you can see he's almost completely two Batmans high, and then just a little bit taller than that yet. Here's Killer Croc with Clayface, and I thought Killer Croc was a decent size figure to begin with. Some people have said Clayface probably should have been around the same size as Killer Croc, maybe just an inch or two higher, but Clayface is still nearly about 3 or 4 inches taller than Killer Croc as it is. If you think Batman versus Superman was a tough fight, how about Darkseid versus Clayface? Clayface is even taller than Darkseid. This is by far the tallest figure the DC Collectibles has done. So if you thought Darkseid was huge, you haven't seen nothing yet. Okay, here's a final shot of kind of all the different sizes that DC Collectibles kind of offers in the same kind of continuity line here, with the exception obviously of Darkseid being in the new 52, but you can kind of see the scale. Clayface, just from the way this is shot here, Clayface is taller, just about a head taller than Darkseid. Then we move down here to Killer Croc, and then to the Arkham City Batman standard figure. So it's quite a different vast array here. Aside from Darkseid, Batman, Killer Croc, and Clayface are obviously from the same game, but I think you could kind of intermix these figures in with other DC Collectibles lines, and their scales are about true to size as they would appear in the comic books and or video games. Final thoughts on Clayface here. I absolutely love the figure. I think he's going to be a great and wonderful addition to my collection. I think there's can be some problem spots here. I'm kind of noticing that this arm is really loose here. It's not wanting to hold tight like this one is, but granted, there's a clasp in here by pushing the back crystal that's holding this arm more sturdy and steady than this one is, and we are in a clear plastic joint situation in some parts of it. So is this going to be something I'm going to be sitting down on the floor and playing with? No, absolutely not. But trying to pose him from time to time, maybe taking some other shots. I'm going to have to be picky on what arms I choose to move and different things. This is how I'm going to have him posed with his normal arms. I thought about putting this one on from time to time, but like I said, with it being so long, it might kind of get in the way of some other figures that I want to try and pose with. But he's going to look massive on my shelf, and I can't wait to add him to the shelf. And now I have the dilemma of where he is going to be standing on the shelf since he is so large. Again, it's a steal to get him from GameStop right now. Even if your GameStop doesn't take an additional $10 off like they did for me, getting him at $59 as opposed to $99 or even the $79 when they originally dropped their price is a great deal. Getting him for half of the price is so worth it. This is a figure I've had my eye on for a while, and I was just kind of resigned to the fact that, well, I'm probably not going to get him. I couldn't justify spending $100 on a figure when there was a lot of other stuff I really wanted. But spending about $50 on a figure that's this large, I was for all day. So today we've been taking a look at the DC Collectibles deluxe figure of Clayface from Batman Arkham City. And as always, this is Rob for Rob's Rogues and the BatmanUniverse.net signing off, saying we will see you guys next time.